Prošlo je otprilike godinu dana od kako smo imali situaciju na severu kada su novoizabrani gradonačelnici ušli u opštine, a kada je zapravo počela da se dešava jedna čudna situacija sa mnogo problema, incidenata i svega onoga što je pratilo taj period nakon što su novoizabrani gradonačelnici zauzeli zgrade opštine. Dakle, od tada pa do danas imamo situaciju da jednostavno srpska i albanska zajednica imaju mnogo problema, da jednostavno Srbi budu slabo vidljivi unutar kosovskih institucija i danas ćemo o vladavini prava, trenutnoj situaciji, kako političkoj, tako i ekonomskoj, razgovarati sa šefom Evropske unije na Kosovu, gospodinom Tomašom Sunjogom. Hvala vam. Thank you for coming there and thank you for this interview.
Well, thank you for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to address your listeners.
How you assess the situation in political and economic field now?
Well, if you kind of are asking me about the assessment of the situation in Kosovo in general, I think that it's clearly, and maybe I can speak about my mandate, which is gradually coming to the end. I will be leaving Kosovo in August this year, and what I have witnessed in the last, let's say, 3 years is relative political stability with the government which can control the majority in the assembly. So unlike in the previous terms, this government seemed to be kind of succeeding in getting the support of the assembly and passing necessary legislation. So from this perspective, this was a period of relative political stability with actually a number of issues or legislation being passed and reforms kind of successfully concluded. So again, we will see what comes next with the end of the mandate of this government, but maybe this can be described as a kind of rare moment of political stability. At the same time, I would mention that this development in Kosovo has been kind of challenged by external factors, and I would mention first and I think foremost the war in Ukraine, which again unjustified and unprovoked aggression by Russia caused a really terrible war with thousands of dead people. But it also had a repercussion on the European Union, on the political and security thinking in Europe, but also has a negative, clearly negative consequences on the economics of the whole of Europe, with increased inflation, increased prices of basic food products, increased prices of energy, and other challenges. So all this complicates the situation immensely. But at the same time, as the European Union is an organism which usually kind of is able to find a solution also in the crisis, it's also kind of put a new emphasis on the enlargement process for the whole Western Balkans as one of the solutions to these challenges we have been facing. Finally, I think it's difficult to kind of discuss situation in Kosovo without mentioning the dialogue. We have seen some developments in the dialogue, particularly early last year, when the agreement was agreed in Brussels, but also there was an agreement on this implementation annex in Ohrid in March last year. Unfortunately, since then, we have not seen implementation of those two documents, and this is something which needs to be addressed urgently. Both sides have failed, and I think both sides need to focus more on implementation.
Yes, in that context, you mentioned trading and export-import. We have a problem with import from Serbia still now. What happened for that?
Well, my understanding is that the Kosovo government decided to ban import of Serbian products to Kosovo in June last year in relation to the deterioration of security situation in the north in particular. This, if you remember, this was basically a response to the major conflict in Zvečan at the end of May, but also the issue with 3 Kosovo policemen who were allegedly hijacked from Kosovo to Serbia and then returned back. So, and of course, this is also a reaction to discoveries of weapons and ammunition in Kosovo. And I think that, again, this is presented by the Kosovo government as not as a trade ban, but as a security measure responding to those security threats. Again, we recognize that CEFTA, which is the free trade agreement regulating the trade between Kosovo and Serbia, actually has an exemption for security, but our interpretation of that is that this should be a short-term measure and not lasting for several months already, almost 1 year as we speak. So from our perspective, this is something which should be reviewed and maybe what we are also believe that there are other ways how to make sure that the illegal goods, weapons, ammunition are not smuggled, but would allow for free movement of goods from Serbia and to Serbia. So I think that there are ways, technical ways, how to make sure that that it can be prevented that those illegal materials are not smuggled. But and I hope that this is something which would be kind of seriously discussed. At the same time, I think I should mention also that we have now, as a European Union, agreed and introduced this new growth plan. Important part of that is this logic that 6 Western Balkan countries should create a regional market, the true regional market, and then this regional market should be integrated in some specific areas, including the free movement of goods into the EU single market. So the way to single market leads through the regional market, and again, free movement of goods is one of the basic principles of European Union and should be also applied here, again with some understanding for some specific security measures, but those should be actually targeted, and again there are ways how to do, how to kind of implement the security preventive measures without hampering the general movement of goods.
Yes, but let's say that is maybe unique case in that region where import product from one country it's banned, and what European Union to do to change that? If you have any steps and dialogue between EU and Kosovo Prime Minister Office to change that?
Well, we have been raising this issue again. I have been raising this issue with Kosovo officials already for a long time. We have also made it quite clear in Brussels that this is what is not consistent. But we again, we are offering to Kosovo, but also to all countries of the region, this new growth plan, which is actually specifically focused on improving or increasing the growth in the region to narrow the gap between the EU economic development and regional economic development. We believe that this can only be done through the common regional market and through kind of broader and deeper economic integration of the whole region, and then the integration of the region into EU single market. What we are offering is a market of 450 million consumers for the products from the region. We are also offering additional financial support for this project. So again, we hope that with this positive incentive, there would be a kind of understanding also on the side of the 6 Western Balkan countries to really look into how to move forward with the regional integration and EU integration.
I need to ask you, we are here in Goraždevac, about decision of Central Bank of Kosovo. What is position of European Union? We're talking most of them in the last couple of months. We have a visit of Das Escobar and other EU representatives. Still now we have problem in continuously. What is the position of EU office?
Well, our position, and again, it's very close to generally the international community position, is that that it is legitimate for the Kosovo Central Bank to regulate this issue, and it's legitimate to kind of follow what is, after all, in the Kosovo Constitution. But the way this regulation was prepared, the way it was done, without proper assessment of the impact, without proper consultation with the affected communities, and with extremely short deadlines, is something which is simply a sign of bad governance. From my perspective, so again, we have never disputed the right of central bank to regulate those issues, but the way it has been done and the way it has been implemented is something which is probably kind of unacceptable. And we understand that there are issues still related to that.
How do you evaluate Kosovo's efforts in the fight against corruption in past period? We hearing a lot of promise from this government. What you assess that?
Well, I would say that there have been some positive movements in this area, which is quite important for us. I mean, there have been a new legislative framework adopted, which actually also empowers the agency for prevention of corruption, which is a new name, to work more efficiently. We have seen some developments also in the structure of police to put fight against corruption higher on the agenda. We have seen also good efforts on the side of judicial institution, Kosovo Judicial Council and Kosovo Prosecutorial Councils. We have seen new efforts also on the side of the Special Prosecutor. But again, those are initial steps and steps in the right directions. Of course, there are still issues there, particularly when we look at those high-profile cases. This is something which ULEX have been looking into by the way, some or majority of those cases are still the cases which actually ULEX handed over to Kosovo institution in 2018. And when you look at the whole process, starting from investigation, through indictment, through the judicial phase, and through the final convictions, and including also confiscation of the criminally earned assets, we cannot be satisfied. Again, there is still a lot to do.
Yes, in second side we have we see a lot of action unique action from government and police of Kosovo in North Kosovo. Last action is maybe a couple of days ago in the Bank of North Kosovo. How European Union office see this action of Kosovo police and authorities?
Well, this specific action from the last week, we see that as a really activity which we believe has not been properly consulted and coordinated with the international community. We see it as a unilateral activity, and this is the activity which actually certainly does not contribute to the escalation of the security situation in the north. So this is certainly not helpful. And again, this is something which we have been rather disappointed with, because we have seen since actually agreement in Bratislava in July last year, some positive steps and positive trends, including better coordination of Kosovo police with ULEX, better coordination with KFOR. There have been an agreement to do joint security assessment. This has been done, but now this is something which, again, EU has not been informed before, and this is something which we see as a unilateral, uncoordinated activity.
Yes, in that context, can Kosovo establish the rule of law in the north of Kosovo when 90% people is coming from Serbian community? What is need to do Kosovo to establish rule of law?
Well, I would say I would probably dispute this 99% figure, because if you look at the practical issues which relates to the rule of law, for example, car plates. We have seen that about 50% or even more of car plates were regulated in the Kosovo system. We have also seen positive steps in recognition of documents. For example, when we since January this year, I assume it's related to the visa liberalization, we have seen a significant increase of interest for Kosovo passports. We now have seen also a positive response to this decision of the Kosovo government to allow actually people to change the driving license for Kosovo documents. So I would say that if you look into practical issues which facilitate your daily life, I think that the response is there. Also, if you look at the statistics in the north, basically people have been reporting criminal activities to the Kosovo police in the north in numbers which are fully compatible with what they reported, let's say, before November 22. So it's not like there is a complete separation between law enforcement and the population. At the same time, I would also say that of course this is something which is in the legal framework of Kosovo, but also is in the interest of Kosovo to have a system and activities of Kosovo institutions which are fully consulted with the local population and are accepted by the local population.
Do you see any process of trust building between Kosovo authorities and citizens in North Kosovo, like for example, today we talking in Goraždevac where citizens have a very good relationship between local authorities. Do you see any process who is promised to build trust between citizens in North and authorities?
Well, I would say again that there are some activities which are going into right directions. We have, for example, this issue of verification of diploma from the University in Mitrovica North, but also extending this competence also for secondary schools, which will be quite important actually to have Kosovo Serbs working in Kosovo institutions. We also have quite impressive numbers of Kosovo Serbs actually applying for positions in police, but also other institutions. So again, there are some signs that there are positive development. At the same time, I think that, and this is where we certainly have expected more, is there have not been a substantial internal dialogue between non-majority communities and the Kosovo government, in particular between Kosovo Serbs and the government. This is something which actually has not moved and have not delivered visible results. And this is something which, again, obviously one issue where we have not felt the real kind of progress, unfortunately, in the last 3 years.
What are the key reforms the Kosovo should implemented in order to accelerate its path to the EU? Is the implementation of Brussels agreement or with Belgrade dialogue or what?
Well, I would say that there are probably 4 issues. The 3 are general and they apply to each and every Western Balkan country. So those 2 things, those are those 2 fundamentals, as we call it in the EU language. And this is basically the fundamental freedoms, democracy and rule of law. This is one area. Which includes obviously also fight against organized crime, corruption, other issues. So those are those famous chapters 23 and 24. If you negotiate or when you start to negotiate, and those are the key for the progress of the integration. And that's again applies for everybody. The second issue, where actually again is something which is again fundamentals, and this is economic growth. Kosovo, if you look at the statistics, is the poorest country in the region, is at the level of 27% of the EU average. So if EU is 100, Kosovo is 27. This is something which is simply not sustainable. So Kosovo needs to grow faster economically, needs to kind of create more jobs, also because of the demography, as suggested by the first results of the census, needs to kind of do more deeper and more substantial and more fundamental market reforms. And again, we also really believe quite strongly that the one way or one important element of how to deliver fastest GDP growth is the regional integration. The third issue, which is also very important for Kosovo, but also for other countries in the region, is energy transition and Green Deal. I think that this is something which is in the self-interest of Kosovo to do the transition away from what is now unsustainable model of delivering more than 90% of electricity or energy from coal power plants, and this is something which simply cannot go beyond next few years. And the energy strategy is a good document, going into the right direction, but we need to focus on implementation. Finally, the fourth thing, which is specific for Kosovo, but also specific for Serbia, and this is something which is clearly kind of communicated, and I hope is understood, that the way for Kosovo as well as for Serbia to EU leads through the dialogue and full normalization of relations.
What's happened to the dialogue? Do you have any initiative or any steps to try to improve process of negotiation between Belgrade and Pristina?
Well, what is important to say is that we do not really believe that a new or completely new system or completely new initiative is necessary. We actually do have an agreement, even though some people, including in Belgrade, are questioning this, but that we do have an agreement. It is actually now part of the legal base also for Serbia in the chapter 35 of accession negotiation. It will be part of future potential accession negotiation of Kosovo. So we do have agreement. What we need to push both sides to is the implementation of the agreement. My colleague and friend Miroslav Lajčák is having this saying that you can bring the horses to the water, but you cannot force them to drink, and this is where we are.
Can you say anything about current projects? Who is European Union implemented in Kosovo still now? And
well, the EU is by far the biggest donor to Kosovo, and obviously in our assistance, which actually is called Instrument for Pre-Accession Assistance. So it's actually targeted specifically to Kosovo and to the whole region as assistance which should help Kosovo and other countries in the region to actually integrate it into EU. We have delivered 1.6 billion euro to Kosovo, and of course we focus on those issues which we believe are important. So we focus on the rule of law, we focus on public administration reforms, we focus on the assistance to judiciary to be more efficient and more professional and more independent. We obviously focus on the economic development and faster economic development, creating kind of legal framework for economic development, but also assisting individually businesses, including small and medium-sized enterprises. I have visited actually today a couple of companies which directly benefited from the EU assistance, and I've been impressed actually. Overall envelope, if you look at let's say Kosovo specifically, the annual budget specifically for Kosovo is more than 70 million euro in specific assistance in specific area. Sorry, I forgot to mention also education as a particular focus we have. Then if you count also this cross-border cooperation with Montenegro, Albania, North Macedonia, if you count also the regional projects, it's actually kind of very close to 100 million euro. So this is quite impressive, I think. Again, something which I hope people see and people understand, and I also hope that this is beneficial not only for kind of, again, creating frameworks and better performing judiciary, but the people would be able to see tangible projects improving their daily lives.
In that way, what role does the European Union play in supporting economic development and social stability in Kosovo?
Well, again, we have been, I believe that we have been focusing on those areas we see as the having the best potential for faster economic growth. One issue again is the education, particularly the preschool education, but also we have been improving and building a number of schools. We still believe, and we are ready to help Kosovo with the reforms of the healthcare system, which of course is something which is a challenge. That's why I also visited this morning the healthcare center in Klina. What seems to be a very promising area is IT or ICT and all this kind of communication and internet and internet developments and other things. Those are kind of areas where I have been actually surprised how many people are interested. We have been doing, together with Ministry of Environment and Special Planning, a number of projects actually kind of educating young people in coding and other internet issues. And again, this is kind of something which I see as one of the biggest issues which can generate the growth and well-paid kind of jobs.
In that way, European Union supports civil society in Kosovo also. Sometimes we see ethnical difference between civil society organization, especially in the context of passport and non-visa regime improvement. What you expect from civil society organization in Kosovo, and what is your support?
Well, I think we first of all, we believe that the civil society is an essential element of healthy democratic society, and that's why we actually insist on supporting civil society regardless of ethnic composition of the civil society organizations. We have supported civil society with, I think, more than 30 million euro in the past, in this current financial perspective. We are ready to do it in the future, and you know, you are right that civil society organizations sometimes disagree, but I think it's part of what they should do. They should discuss and they should have a kind of lively discussion. What is important is that, and actually I participated in this debate on the passports. There were disagreements and very kind of emotional disagreements in this meeting, but this meeting happened. The people met, and I think that was important, and they talked openly. They couldn't agree on the outcome of the debate, but at the end of the meeting they actually agreed to meet again. And I think that this is something which is quite important, and it's legitimate to disagree. But it's also kind of legitimate to meet and discuss and maybe shout at each other. And that's part of what the civil society should do.
What is your opinion about how matter are the democratic process in Kosovo, and what could be improved?
Well, there are always ways to improve because democracy is not a static system, it's a dynamic process. There are several issues. I think that what needs to be appreciated is when you start with democracy, it's, let's say, elections. If you look at the system, all elections I have witnessed, and that also is stemming from the reports I have read for election before, were done in a very professional manner. There is also a new legislation passed on elections. So one thing I hope we can all agree is that elections in Kosovo are kind of organized and conducted professionally, and there are no major kind of issues with that. Of course, we can debate whether the voters list is correct or not, but I think that generally speaking, Kosovo has a robust and solid legal framework for elections and a kind of good track record of organizing elections in a professional manner. What I would believe, and of course there is a lively political debate, and this is something which also is important. We still would like to see a better organization of this, or better implementation of the law on party financing, which was approved. There is a new legislation, still has not been properly implemented because of some issues about the setup of the agency. We also, what I would actually appreciate after those more than 3 years is better cross-party consultation in the assembly. I mean, we have seen a very polarized assembly in the last 3 years. We have seen a lack of dialogue between opposition and coalition. I would also argue that the boycott of the assembly is not really a democratic way to disagree. Again, in our reports, which we produce every year, the annual report of the European Commission, the first issue which is noted there is as a frequent lack of quorum, frequent kind of lack of members of the parliament kind of participating in the work and voting either for or against, and general kind of and because of that lack of inter-party dialogue, because of the lack of discussion between opposition and coalition, we also have seen kind of a decrease of efficiency of the assembly.
On the end, you very soon finish your mandate in Kosovo. Your mandate is be in one very turbulent period in Kosovo, especially in the last year, like I mentioned in introduce of this interview. What's memory and impression you bring from Kosovo, and what is your message for people of Kosovo?
Well, I have actually I think that everything is relative because I was just recently thinking about my predecessor, Ambassador Apostolova. She was here between 2016 and 2020. If you look into her period, I think it was actually much more kind of turbulent in a sense of political development. So from that perspective, actually, if you take long term, actually, I would say that it has been better than I expect, much better than I expected. Of course, I'm not 100% satisfied. There have been missed opportunities on my side, on other sides. But again, I would say that this was good 4 years, or that has been good 4 years.
Mr. Sunjog, thank you very much for coming in Goraždevac and speaking with us about every topic who is interesting.
Well, thank you for being here.
Thank you. Bio je to Tomaš Sunjog, šef Evropske unije na Kosovu. Ostanite uz nas.